Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this evening's special meeting of the Cabinet of Rushcliffe Borough Council. This is an extraordinary meeting, so there is only one substantive item on the agenda. I'd just like to remind everybody that the Cabinet meeting is being live streamed on YouTube, and a recording will be available afterwards on the Council's YouTube channel. Under the Openness of Local Government Bodies Regulations 2014, other people may film, record, post on social media or blog from this meeting, but to remind you that the use of any such images or recordings are not under the Council's control. So, item 1, apologies for absence. We are all here. So, item 2, I will make a group declaration on behalf of the three dual hatters who are also county councillors that the county council has considered the matter. However, we are here this evening to consider it afresh, and so we will consider it on behalf or with the Rushcliffe Borough Council's interests in mind. So that will involve me, Councillor Upton and Councillor Wheeler. Okay, thank you for that. So we're on to the only substantive item of the agenda, which relates to the local government reorganisation in Greater Nottinghamshire. I'm sure this needs little introduction in terms of what local government reorganisation is. I'll refer to it as LGR from now on this evening. It is obviously to reorganise local government around Nottinghamshire, as many other counties in the country are also being reorganised at the same time. And the government invited us to make a submission by the 28th of November, which is fast coming up at the end of this week. So there has been a lot of engagement take place. An awful lot of work has taken place over the last few months since February time, and that has been engagement with other councils, both the city, the county and other district councils. And there's been a lot of work that's taken place by officers of this authority and of course of the other authorities as well. So before I forget, I want to thank the Chief Executive and all the many staff who have put in an awful lot of time, effort, hours, weeks, months of work in trying to establish the remit for this LGR process, and that has involved the work of consultants as well, because it's necessary to have made sure that we've assessed and analysed lots of information to make sure that what we are dealing with are facts. And then, of course, it has involved engagement with the public in various forms, and involved other organisations as well, because it's important that in drawing up our proposals that we took into account other opinion on this process as well. In addition, internally, it has actually been through the corporate overview scrutiny group as well, and so their comments have been taken into account, and it went to full council last Thursday, where it was debated in full, and a recommendation made by full council to this cabinet meeting this evening, and that's the reason why we are here now. Because that recommendation has been made by full council, so all councillors were involved and had the opportunity to have their say in bringing this recommendation to this cabinet. just as a bit of an aside, to remind you as well that not all councils have even gone through that process. Some have gone straight to an executive decision without going through full council. But here in Rushcliffe, we wanted to make sure that everybody did have their say. And that is really the priority that I put on this process. Is it's absolutely important that the residents are the priority, the residents and the businesses of the borough. We have outstanding services, brilliant engagement with the public. We are, the council is held in very high esteem by the residents. So it's absolutely vital that we take those residents' interests into account and that they are our priority. There have been several options proposed around or within the county, should I say, and you'll no doubt have noted that there are three options that have come to the fore. One is the option which we are proposing to submit this Friday, but then, sorry, that option involves one council being formed of the City Council and Broxtowe and Gedling, and then the other council being formed of the rest of the county, including Rushcliffe as well. So that means two unitary councils. So just as a reminder, all councils will be abolished, and whether they are upper tier or whether they are district councils, and two new councils are to be proposed to cover the county of Nottinghamshire. Other options have been proposed as well. There is another option being put forward by other councils, which includes the City and Broxtowe and Rushcliffe being formed as one council, and then again the rest of the county. And then the City Council have made a further proposal to include obviously the whole of the city area and to take additional areas from some other district councils, and of course Rushcliffe, the borough of Rushcliffe being one of the principal targets, taking approximately half of Rushcliffe to be combined with the city area as well. That's not something that the Borough Council supports because it's important that, as far as I'm concerned, we ensure that any new council maintains the high standards of service and financial stability. There's been a lot of work has taken place regarding financial analysis, and both the options that we are proposing and the other option, which the option that we're proposing is colloquially known as 1B. There was another option of 1E, which is the option that I referred to, where the City and Broxtowe and Rushcliffe form a council. Both those options have been fully financially analysed. The other option involving the City Council, I understand, hasn't received full financial analysis. I believe it's still open to some further work and assessment. But we are here this evening to discuss and to look at the recommendation that we are considering to propose that we make the submission by the 28th of November for the option known as 1B, which is the City and Broxtowe and Gedling. Included in the recommendations, in fact there are 5 recommendations, A, B, C and D and E, and recommendation E refers to establishing a cross-party task and finish group to provide the oversight of the reorganisation. There have been some terms of reference proposed. Initially, it was proposed that it comprise 9 members, which would be cross-party. I think that it is important that this process is not inhibited at all by some people not being engaged, and therefore that's the reason that I am highlighting that as an establisher cross-party task and finish group, but that the terms of reference do not refer to 9 members, but that we choose or appoint a number and delegate to the Chief Executive to ensure that the number is sufficient efficiently to represent all parts or parties of the council, so that everybody has their opportunity to make representations on the oversight that will be taking place. So that will obviously be a greater number than 9, but I think it's important at this stage that we have we give that opportunity to everybody to have an input into that process. Just to remind everybody as well that the after the final submission by the 28th of November, that goes into government. They've already indicated that an answer or a decision is not likely until next July, but in the meantime the government will respond to us, and there will be a public consultation process as part of that further work that will be taking place once the final submission has been made. So the 28th of November doesn't mean that's the end of the process. There's still then further work got to take place. The process will involve, assuming that a decision is made by July, then the process will involve future elections, which are potentially supposed to be in 2027 for a shadow authority, with a view to the new councils coming into full operation in 2028, known as vesting day, when the new councils will come into full operation. So just to come round full circle, at this stage I will now draw my comments to a close by saying that again, the residents and the businesses are the priority in this process, and that I will move the recommendations which are on page 1 and 2 of the agenda, paragraphs A, B, C, D and E, that we make the submission by the 28th of November, and that submission is to propose the 2 councils, one that Rushcliffe will be in with the rest of the county, and that the city, Broxtowe and Gedling will form the other council. With that, I shall move those recommendations. Seconder, please. Councillor Brennan.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, there was a very comprehensive review of the situation we find ourselves in, so I don't have a huge amount more to add to that. But as you said, Councillor Clark, there's been a huge amount of discussion, time, energy and money spent responding to government's instructions that we must put in place unitary authorities. And as Rushcliffe Borough Council is an effective, efficient and debt-free council, it's been quite a challenge to make sure that we can put in place something that will benefit our residents from this process. And I think people say that people don't care about the council. All they care about is if their bins are emptied or their potholes are filled or their services are delivered, and rightly so. So they should, and we endeavour to do our very best to deliver the services that the Borough Council is required to deliver. But this process has clearly shown that people do care very much about their geography, and they do care very much that their council is an efficient, effective and not a wasteful council, and one that they can rely on and trust to spend their council tax funds responsibly. And I think a lot of the passion that's been shown throughout this process has been because people really do care. Both residents, businesses and local members of all parties across the piece have shown a great deal of commitment, energy and passion to this process, even if we have not all agreed all of the time or even still do not. I don't think the motivation of anybody has been other than trying to secure the best deal for the residents of the borough. And we certainly have here around this table and with our elected colleagues. So I think people do care very much about it, and we have remained focused, as you said, Councillor Clark, on the needs of residents and businesses across the borough throughout the entirety of this process, and it's been a long and complex process. It has required a huge amount of work and a huge amount of engagement and commitment from everybody that's been involved in it. The government's decided we must do this, whether we think we should or we shouldn't, or now is the right time to be undertaking such a major overhaul of local government. It's not for us to say, but we have responded positively to that challenge, and this paper before us this evening and the proposal this evening is where we've come to, which we think is the best option for residents across Rushcliffe. And now we await the consideration of government, and we very much hope that they will give it proper and due consideration, taking account, as we have done, to the needs and views expressed by local residents throughout this process. So I'm happy to second the recommendations this evening.
Thank you very much. I'll open it up to anybody else who wishes to make any. Councillor Inglis.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, LGR. Lots have been debated and publicised, speculation, and everything to that. But I just want to look at it from a slightly different angle to what we've seen in the press and what we've come to on the report. What I'm not seeing is the impact on our staff, the mental and financial hit that will have on them, the staff, the managers, executive team, chief exec, and all our councillors across the authority and across our county. I think we need to recognise the fact that they could be out of a job at the end of this process. They've worked tirelessly, lived and breathed it all over the last few months, no doubt losing sleep, extra stress on their private lives, in formulating this report with very tight timelines. And inevitable, it could be the demise of their jobs. Job security is gone, uncertainty rules. I feel the pain. To have a fantastic team, what's their future? Their options, they have to wait until the transition to seek the new role, or will they now need to be looking for outside jobs and highly unlikely to be replaced with short contracts left behind? The number of councillors across the county will be more than halved. Those councillors cast aside are dedicated, usually long-standing pillars of their communities. Efficiency savings has a massive human toll, not just across Rushcliffe, but the county and the country. We are voting for people to lose their jobs. However, I agree with the report. You know, it's the best of the bunch, and I agree that 1B is the way forward. But I do recognise the work and the staff have put into it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Verdi.
Thank you, Chairman. And I think, again, I'd like to echo the sort of thanks to staff and everybody involved in getting us to this point. I think Councillor Ings has made a very interesting angle on the impact on staff, not just residents and everybody else. And I think that's important to take into consideration. Clearly, it's been a very insightful discussion at Council last week, and I think the word passion has been used over and over again. So I think clearly we're all, I think, on the same page with regards to trying to achieve an optimum outcome, despite the very challenging and difficult circumstances we're in. I think insofar as the report is concerned, I did have some points I was going to cover, but I think they've been covered extensively, particularly around the structure of 2 unitaries, being able to focus on both the urban concentration and the wider county in terms of the option we're going for. And I think the other important thing is the government did lay out very clearly 6 criteria against which we were to be judged. And I know we have focused very hard on that and ensuring that any options or operating models or structures that we come up with meet those requirements, although I'm not quite sure they were all right, but nevertheless we have accordingly produced our sort of outputs based on that. I think as finance portfolio holder, financially, I think the case demonstrates very strongly a stable and sustainable option. The scale of the proposed authorities creates opportunities for efficiencies and shared capacity, while the financial modelling obviously indicates a credible and manageable pathway through the transition. So overall, providing, I think, a sound basis for long-term resilience. I think in summary, and I'm not going to prolong this, as I said, we've had a very intensive debates around this, but I think creating the two authorities does reflect how our communities and services naturally function, giving residents a clearer and more consistent local offer. The proposal performs strongly against the 6 criteria, as I've already mentioned, demonstrating the right scale and capacity and governance framework to deliver sustainable ongoing services, which is ultimately what we're concerned about delivering to our residents. And finally, as I said, the financial modelling, I think insofar as this option is concerned, is providing a stable and manageable option. So I think from my perspective, there's been a lot of passion, I know, in all sorts of ways regarding this, but I do firmly believe this is the most compelling, strong and sensible option that could have been developed, and I'm fully in support of this and the submission on the 28th. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Wheeler.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Again, I think it's just worth re-echoing again, the cost of LGI, and people say what the money is going to save, but they didn't realise in the last few months the effort that's taken from officers and the focus away from doing day-to-day tasks because of the amount of time they've had to go into meet very tight deadlines. So, in the day where we should be focusing on residents and the great service we deliver, we've had to effectively put a lot of time and effort into delivering this process, which no one voted for, and no matter what anyone says at the election, and has been put in a couple of lines at the bottom of a speech and then came out as a policy a little bit later on, and the lack of detail in there around many things has been caused a lot of confusion. And so the fact that we've got to this point now is testament to the officers to get us to put forward a credible bid. And I really hope the government see this is the best option, because we believe it is. You've got spoiler land grab bids up there that don't meet the criteria, so hopefully they are thrown in the bin like they should be, and they really look at what's best for residents. And option 1B, as you've already mentioned and our colleagues have, it's best for a bad job. We really value Rushcliffe Borough Council. We want the council to stay because whatever happens, residents need to know their taxes are going to go up, because Rushcliffe Borough Council has the lowest council tax in Nottinghamshire. So if you're going to equalise out, then the tax is going to go one way, and that's up. And so Rushcliffe residents have to pay more for something that they never voted for to go through this process. So all we can do with this option is try to limit the damage to residents and try to protect the services that they rely on, that we do well. You look at what we deliver compared to a lot of other councils, with the fact that we have the gold standards and some not too far away got the bronze standard at best. So like I say, I think this does the best we can to try to keep that standard going for residents, but I think people just need to recognise that and should be making their voice heard on this to the government and to MPs to say that this wasn't what voted for, and they want their voice to be heard, which unfortunately, apart from the consultation exercise, not having a proper say in this, it's not on anyone's manifesto, it's not a referendum. So it's also worth saying this isn't about geography, no matter what comments were made at full. I know some people made comments at full council about geography of the council. It's about delivering the best service, as we said, and this is the best option for that. And so, like I say, it's very good that the council did recommend this option through 1B, and having had the last few days and looked at the paper since, I see no reason that we shouldn't endorse that and put this forward to government. So I'm more happy to support the recommendations, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Upton.
I'll try and be brief and not repeat what other colleagues have said. This takes me back to the 1970s, and having had a career in public service, I thank the officers for what they've done and are doing on this reorganisation. I experienced that when Rushcliffe was set up 50 years ago, and I can understand officers would have some concern and frankly some worries about the future. It's only human nature. I recall those considerations. But as others have said, we are faced with this as a direction, an instruction, if you like, from government. We have no option but to put together a plan. I'll be frank, I'd rather we stayed as we are, because I've lived in Rushcliffe for 50 years. I find it a good place to live. I find the services from Rushcliffe Borough Council excellent, consistently so. And I could go on about that, but you know, if it ain't broke, why mend it, sort of thing comes to mind. I do have a concern about the residents and the businesses. I think the services may well be changed, but not, I fear, for the better. I always felt that there was the Localism Act, and the view was that keep it local. This to me sort of suggests, and I think Councillor Inglis touched on it, there's probably going to be half as many councillors. And I think, you know, you spread us thinner on the ground, so you've got less local contact, less democracy, you could say, about local people talking to local councillors that know their patch. It ain't going to be like that, in my opinion. They may well have a one-stop shop for all their services. As I say, I'm not convinced that the service will be any better. They may well cost them more. Probably said enough, but this is the only game in town for me, option 1B, and I just hope that the government give it some serious consideration, given the amount of work, effort and money that's gone into it. Otherwise, I would be incredibly disappointed, and I'm sure many of the Rushcliffe residents would be as well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. Yes, interesting. 50 years, and here we are changing it for who knows how much longer in the future. You're absolutely right about the reduction of number of councillors. So there'll be overall across the whole county, there'll be less than half the current number of councillors. So that basically tells you that either the work will double or people will get half the representation, whichever way you want to look at it. However, this whole process, we are where we are. I think it's not the best option. I wouldn't have started from here personally, but we've been, as I said in the council meeting last week, these are the cards we've been dealt with, and these are what we have to look at and work with. And the option that we are proposing is the best option that's available from those that have been analysed as being compliant and possible, because some of the guidance from the government I don't agree with, that we're supposed to be complying with. So it isn't necessarily for the best, but as I say, we are where we are. So if there are no other comments or questions, then we have moved and seconded it. So therefore I will put it to the vote, and all those in favour of the recommendations, which is unanimous. So thank you for that. It's probably one of the most important decisions that this council will have made in its 50-year history. So we need to work with it, and let's continue working forwards for the best of the residents and the businesses. And with that, I will declare